Welcome to another exciting episode of Backstage Showcase, where we are going to take a single piece of material from our past and showcase it and how it was developed and explore some of the stories behind creating it. So, without further ado, let's get started on this new episode. Today we're going to be covering the plant monster from Johnny Thunder and the Wisdom of the Ancients. Now, this is kind of an unusual part of the movie, and a lot of people were surprised about it because of how unconventional it was compared to the other Johnny Thunder movies. But today we're going to be exploring this character and seeing how it was developed from start to finish. Now, believe it or not, even though the script in question went through many rewrites, this creature is actually as old as the rough draft for the movie. It was always going to be in this cavernous environment where we would attack the adventurers, but the designs changed pretty drastically over time. Here's how it used to look. So yeah, originally I wanted to go with a more quote-unquote hominid look to the plant monster, but this posed a few problems. First off, the way it looks here, it looked a little too cute to be something that could be really threatening. And the other thing was that it was just way too big for the environment that I was looking into. But you can take a look here at some of the ways I was thinking about using different plant items and then arranging them in a certain way to kind of create this human-looking plant design. Once I scaled it down to fit into its environment, I then thought about other ways to emphasize more of the plant aspect of it, but still also make it look kind of threatening in some ways. So when I redesigned it, I created a trunk, as you can see here, to give it kind of like a tree look, but then all the branches turn into all different types of carnivorous plants. Like the poster child of carnivorous plants is the Venus flytrap, so I have a few of those in here. But you can also notice there's also a few dewdrop leaves in here as well. You can see one up in the upper left-hand corner that's kind of like uses that shape with all of like the sticky sap to trap its prey. So then once that was done, I then had to figure out a way to build this, because considering it is a stop motion brick film, I thought to myself, this thing needs to be able to be built on set and needs to animate. It needs to be able to have its components move and things like that. So then in Lego Digital Designer, I created this rendering that you see here in order to figure out how to build and things like that. And one thing I figured out early on is I need to use a lot of Technic, Bionicle, and CCBS parts to help create these different ball joints that I could then animate once it's built on set. When it came time to actually build the plant monster, as you can see it here in its final form, one thing I was trying to fix that I did in the rendering was that I made it a little too blocky. It didn't look organic enough. So here I kind of shaped it out, and I was still able to preserve those eyes that I was able to introduce from the very beginning, but still make them subtle, because if I made them too big, it would look kind of weird. But I made all these little adjustments. As always, I did use the Bionicle and Technic pieces to help animate the branches, though I did lose the carnivorous plant motif. But regardless, here's the finished monster. Now, while I'm on the subject of monsters in Johnny Thunder 3, I want to quickly showcase this piece of concept art for this unused Illuminati monster concept. I remember I showcased this a couple years ago, but I never really explained what it was all about. So here's basically what this concept art is all about. So originally in Johnny Thunder 3, in the Chamber of the Hidden Mysteries, Jim Carew was supposed to become superhuman and then go through the portal of the Hidden Mysteries. The adventurers and the villains would follow him through, and then they'd go through all these like different twisted versions of all these different locations from the first two Johnny Thunder movies. Well, partway through, they were supposed to stop by the Nile River from Johnny Thunder and the Gift of the Nile. And Jim Carew was going to transform himself into this Illuminati monster and come out of the water. And then ultimately, though, this scene, along with the entire sequence of going through this sort of netherworld, was dropped because it kind of just stalled the movie and kind of dragged it on too long. And to finish up by returning to the plant monster, here's a screenshot of what the plant monster looks like in the finished movie. Well, the audience reception was, well, I didn't really get much of an audience reception for this. A lot of people kind of glazed over it, honestly, at least as far as I could tell. But hey, I feel it turned out really well. Getting those different joints in there to help really animate it really made it an interesting and unique part of the movie. And also, I hadn't really had any monsters in the Johnny Thunder movie since June Chai in the first one. So it was really nice to get back to that concept and work with it some more. And that concludes today's episode of Backstage Showcase. Thank you for watching, and we hope that you will be back 2 weeks from now when we will have our next episode. Don't forget to visit us at mustachemaniacsfilmco.webs.com, where you can find all of our content, all of our movies, sneak peeks at future movies, comics, shopping, and other things like that. And don't forget to vote for the second Fan Choice Awards at mustachemaniacpressroom.blogspot.com, and check out the voting for the third Fan Choice Awards begins post.